Salty Language presents The Enthusiast.
Hey everybody, finally we're back with a new Enthusiast episode. I'm Bryan, joining me is Tony.
Yep, it's been a while since we had a guest on.
Finally, yeah, we had a real cool thing brought to us about a guy named Steve Wherry joins us this time, and he did a 46-day, I believe he said, beer fast.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah.
Fast.
Oh, fast. Yeah, Jesus. He over the course of that time, he was pretty much just drinking craft beers and water.
And a protein supplement.
Yeah. So we had a real good talk with him. It was a lot of fun.
I think we actually talked more off the air than we did on the air.
It's close. It's really close. Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't record that, so that's just for us. So sucks to be you guys. But
yeah.
So without further ado, here's our talk again with Steve Wherry. We'll have all the links in the show notes, and he mentions where you can find him on social media at the end of the interview. So hope you enjoy. Hey, Steve.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, we've been chatting a lot.
We've been talking.
Yes.
I was like, just sort of sitting there like, hi, hey.
Hey,
all right. Now I've said something. Where do we carry on from
there?
Fair
enough. Steve was brought to my attention by my niece, who shared an article with me. Steve is doing, I don't know.
Did.
Okay.
Past tense.
Okay.
Past tense, okay.
He was doing a beer fast. So as those who listen know, Tony and I talk about beer quite a bit. So we were like, wait, a beer diet? Kind of, I know it wasn't a diet, but whatever. We were immediately like, So we, Tony reached out to him, and, he was nice enough to accept. So, can you tell us a little bit about it, or
Absolutely.
all about it, whatever?
Yeah. So basically, what I did was, for 46 days, I just drank, beer and water, and, I had a, nutritionist that recommended I also, in addition to that, I would do a protein supplement, but I would just do 25 grams of protein. But like I did that for work. I have a physical job. I'm a beer brewer at Miami-Dade Brewing Company, and manually loading bags of grain take up a whole lot. So it was kind of for my body type. It was suggested I do that, but I basically, it was just craft beer, and then half of what your daily recommended protein intake is for that, and then just water.
Now, did you mix? Sorry, did you mix the protein into like water or beer, or did you just do
water? It was just a whey protein powder.
Yeah, that's okay.
I was like, protein beer.
Yeah,
now we're talking.
Well, that's kind of the thing too. This is sort of a modified fast that I did, and basically, the original idea came out of this fast that a lot of monks would go on, particularly like some of the German monks. They would make a Doppelbock, and for Lent, that's all that they would, basically eat is that and water. Which, if you know Doppelbock, it's a very, very heavy, thick, malty beer, but it's packed full of nutrients. And so a lot of the guys that would do this, there's some people that were home brewers here in the U.S. that have done that diet. But what they would do is that they would take and they'd make a beer that was a homebrew batch of Doppelbock, but they would take and they would kind of make it like loaded a little extra heavy with like things like oats, or they would stop fermentation early. Like every one of them kind of tried to custom engineer this beer to give them the most bang for their buck and try to fill it with nutrients and proteins and stuff like that. Try and make it something you could live off of.
Okay, yeah, because I was kind of curious how you chose, what beers you drank during the time. So okay,
so that's the fun of it. Is that I thought about it like originally when it started. The diet was all based off of a beer we make called Dreaming Demon, and
delicious.
Yeah, we've had that. Yeah,
I picked a good one to start this with. It's a Belgian strong dark that is made with Montmorency cherry juice from Traverse City. But we made this beer, and the thing is, I didn't want to make something custom for this batch because, not to say one thing or another, but I sort of felt like by doing that, these guys who made these batches and did their own fasts, they didn't disclose what they put in these beers as far as recipe goes or anything like that. And the thing about it is that it's always been home brewers doing it.
Right.
And I kind of wanted to do something just for the fun of it and to kind of promote craft beer. I wanted it to be something that was commercially available. And that was the original rule to start with. It was this wasn't something that was just custom made and then it's slanted with all the extra ingredients. Yes, I do the protein supplement, but 25 grams is not much at all to live off of,
Yeah.
Right.
And, even then, you'll see a fair amount, if somebody wanted to in a homebrewed batch, even though proteins are not exactly what you want for fermentation, there's ways you could trick it to, kind of slant it your way. If you wanted to just make a batch of beer that has alcohol in it and the flavor's not anything great, but you have all your nutrients in there, you could cheat and do this. So I wanted to try and make it as plain, straightforward as possible. This is just regular craft beers. They're heavier beers, so it's stuff like porters, stouts, anything that was like a Doppelbock. It was dicey because there's a fair amount of them that are now on the market that aren't exactly what you're looking for. They're lighter things that are being passed off as Doppelbocks, But I wanted to try to make this as straightforward as you can get. Anyone could do this if they wanted to,
Yeah.
And
right.
kind of to help extra sell craft beers that you can't make the argument that this was something that was slanted towards, the best possible results. These are all beers that just happen to be on the market, but they also happen to be so loaded with nutrients and so, jam-packed full of stuff for great stuff for you to live off of that you could do this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you weren't just, like you said, you weren't, trying to skew the experiment, if you will, to say, oh yeah, see, you can do this, but you weren't creating a custom protein shake essentially that you're calling a beer,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was just really stressed to me by it was a friend of the brewery that was really kind of getting into this. And as we looked at what all went into the Dreaming Demon and did an analysis on it, it was okay, this is, you can live off of it and you will be fine living off of it for the time that you're doing it. But what'll start to be a problem is that if you're running up and down stairs constantly and hoisting bags of grain and doing all this extra physical stuff, without any source of protein coming in, you're going to start to not be able to function that well at work. And everyone else who's done this, from what I could do by my research, everyone else who did it was there was a newspaper reporter, or there's a dude who is just a home brewer. They're all people who don't necessarily have what looks like crazy physical jobs,
Yeah.
It's somebody who's sitting at a desk or somebody who's, stay-at-home dad or something like that. So it was as I went into it, I was all right, I probably should take the advice and add this in, but I only did, 1 scoop of whey protein, and that's it, apart from, doing these heavier beers.
Right.
But that was the thing. It was that was really cool. It's just that, yeah, you can do this. I didn't do it to prove that, you could do it, because it's already been done, like as far as living off of a beer or something like that. But like to say that like it's not something that you have to be an expert to do, and it's not some special batch of beer that's been, doctored up just for the excuse of doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
You could do Founder's Breakfast Stout for breakfast and every other meal.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially what I came down to towards the end too, is that like, it started running into issues when like, it started with me just doing the Demon, but I would have to take growlers, back home, or try to find like ways to get growlers, on the road and stuff. And then I would go on the road for the brewery. Like I brewed a batch with, Right Brain in a collaboration. And when I went up there, it was like, okay, a growler is going to last me a day and I have to be up here for 2 days.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to have to improvise, at times.
Yeah.
So it turned into like, I would actually do our own breakfast stout, for Mommy Bay. And that became kind of a regular thing. Like as soon as like work was done, I'd go and I'd have a pint of that and then, pick up from there. But yeah, my breakfast stout literally did become a all day, any time of day meal kind of stuff.
I don't see a problem with that, really.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
And for anyone listening, like you weren't like just pouring beer in your face anytime like you were drinking anything, correct? Like you had designated, like similar to like eating, you would drink a pint, right?
We analyzed this all by body weight. I started with 279 pounds, and I'm 6'2", and I'm in addition to having this brewing job and all that stuff, I'm a musician. I'm a hand drummer, and I play like bongos and congas and stuff like that. And I spent a fair amount of time like holding on to instruments with my legs and stuff. So I've got a lot of my weight's in my leg muscles and stuff. But like I wound up losing 30 pounds, or actually it was 37 at the end of it. But all this was done through like looking at the weight and what I have in my body type and kind of checking it out. And for a pint of 10.5%, which is what Dreaming Demon was, we figured out that I metabolize beer, which is the most fun thing to learn about myself. We figured out how I metabolize alcohol, and a pint of a 10.5% at my full weight would be basically absorbed and kept underneath the legal limit for, the legal blood alcohol limit. I would get like a 0.04 off the first gate, like in the first 10 minutes. But in the matter of a half hour, it would literally be absorbed out, and I'd be back down to like nothing. So I'd have that one pint. I'd feel like a little bit of a buzz in the first 10 minutes or so, like very slight buzz. But then I'd start pounding water after that. And then for the next 3 hours, it'd be nothing but water, try and flush through my kidneys and everything,
Yeah.
Right.
And then 3 hours later, I'd have another pint. And it was kind of like the standard. I would do 5 pints a day. And that basically with the Dreaming Demon would bring me up to around 2,100 calories for the day.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I just wanted to stress to anyone listening, that
I wasn't getting blitzed.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to point out. Yeah.
We were very careful about like, it's particularly like how I'm doing it while I'm working, because
right.
we, obviously I can't be like swinging a forklift around, buzz and everything, like
balancing a pint glass on it.
Yeah, we wound up doing the math and doing some tests to find out how this works and how I exactly metabolize alcohol, and it all was pretty straightforward. I did have there were nights where I would go out and like I'd go drinking, so to speak, but I literally just would not drink during the day. I would just drink water, and then like hang out with friends or something like that occasionally, and I'd have my pints then.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But for the weekend or something like that, I wasn't getting like sloshed at work or something. There wasn't no Yeah. Just to be
I'm not an
straightforward.
alcoholic. I'm on a diet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
it's
like
kind of funny. Like I've learned a lot through doing this, and I've learned a lot about food. And what's really interesting to me about doing something like this is that it does force you to start counting calories, and you pay attention to what you're doing as far as the drinks go. And if we're supposed to have like the recommended diet is supposed to be for 2,000 calories, for the average person, on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's back and forth. Obviously, people are different and different body types take more or less, that. But it's kind of funny. I would think about it, and I realized like I was kind of I was a heavier dude. But a lot of that was just due to the fact that like as a drinker, as a craft beer drinker, like I'm not getting drunk, and I'm not, as a regular drinker, I'm not like, partying like, the way that you would think, a dude, a brewer would, but like I am drinking a lot. And it was kind of funny to think about the fact that like as a craft beer drinker, you're used to measuring, going after flavor and not so much measuring yourself against the alcohol percentages, because you tend to have a higher tolerance anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this whole game is all about like, oh man, I want to try this. Oh, I haven't had that flavor. Oh, that sounds really cool. Like, that's why you get into these types of beers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, for sure.
I was actually just having a conversation with somebody about that, because they were like, oh, it sounds like you drink a lot of beer. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not like, I'm like, I want to say yes, but I don't want you to think I'm constantly drinking, because it isn't necessarily like I'm an alcoholic. It's just, we try like the people we drink with, we try a lot of beer, you know?
Well, and even if you are drinking regularly, like just like a regular person at a bar, because your tolerance is that high, like maybe you're having, 4 beers or something like that on a night out, or 4 or 5 beers if you're out and stuff. But like, if you're doing that and you're just a regular drinker, but you're not, getting sloshed or something, it's still like every time you have one of those beers, it is at least 150 to upwards of, 400 and 430 calories.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny how like that stuff, you never really do think about that until you're really paying attention.
Yeah.
I used to make fun of people that would ask me, like, I worked for the Andersons for a while as one of their beer guys, and I wouldn't make fun of, that sounds horrible, but I would later, I wouldn't point a finger directly at him and like, you're stupid, ha ha.
But you should have.
How many calories are in here? Oh yeah, counting calories rather than having fun. But
nice fit.
Yeah, I'd talk about it later though, because I thought it was just so crazy.
Yeah,
and talk with coworkers, and then it was funny, like think about it, and I'm like, I realized that like I was maintaining my weight for years.
Yeah.
I was a heavier dude, but not crazy heavy, but I wasn't gaining pounds,
Yeah.
Right.
And there was times I would lose a little bit, but I realized like, oh yeah, well, I'm eating healthy and I'm doing better things, but like I'm still drinking a lot and trying 50,000 different things. Even if I'm not drinking, I'm having a little shot, at a,
let me try a taste of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But not even that, like taste of it, but if you keep sampling, tastes as you're going around from place to place, like I would go to so many beer festivals just through work. I never thought about the fact, like, after a beer festival, I may have thrown in 2,000 calories worth of beer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
absolutely.
What it does. Yeah, I found that when we've gone to the beer fest various times, when I'll be like, at some point, I'll be like, and Tony can attest, like, I'll be like, dude, I am full. Like, I'll just be like, I am full on beer. Like, I don't, it's from sampling so many. Yeah.
Doing this fast, it was one of the most weird experiences I had. One day, I didn't have anything all day. I didn't have any pints, and we had a crazy work day. Or I was just, like, running constantly. And so I got down to it, and I was feeling hungry. And I literally went to a bar downtown, and I had a pint. And as I'm sipping the pint, the feeling of hunger was going away. Like, I had a music gig last night. I played out in Cleveland, and the place we're at was the first time playing there. So we didn't know ahead of time that they didn't have a kitchen. So we were just running late and trying to get there, running behind and all that stuff. So I didn't have time before the show to go do stuff. So I got there and I didn't have anything, there was no options for food. So it was like, all right, but they do have Founder's Breakfast Stout.
Nice.
Guess I'm back on my fast.
I had 2 of those and hey, I'm feeling good now.
Yeah, he found his new Slim Fast.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you, that's the thing too. People constantly would ask me, how are you feeling? Are you feeling bad? And I had some moments where I thought maybe I was I would start to have some weird joint pain and stuff like that towards the end, which I think it was just a random fluke moment because it went away. But I never really felt bad. And if anything, it felt great just because I had more energy weirdly. And I adjusted to it really well. There was the first 4 days were tough, but it's crazy how good you feel doing something like this once you've gotten through, your brain gets reset to this is what we're doing for calories now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think people realize how much energy your body uses when you're digesting.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel so much better. I don't even now as I'm trying to work food back in, and I've been starting with doing soups was the beginning of it. Now I'm just sort of incorporating salads and stuff.
Is it some of that good beer cheese soup? That stuff's delicious.
Dude, I'm never hungry at the point that the beer cheese soup is available. It's always during the day at the cafe.
Right.
So that's entirely skipped me over. I've forgotten about it. I've got to get in there and get a bowl of beer cheese soup. There's so much food. That's my trouble. I'm into this career because of flavor. I'm into this for the love of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So of course that translates over into every possible thing it could get into.
I could see that. Yeah.
And I love if I could make the same amount of money and have the same amount of fun, being an expert of cheese, I've gotten into it. If that was a clear, obvious path, if you could be a home cheesemaker and have all the same, people that are interested to try your cheese, a craft brew or something like that, or a home brew, that would have been the route I went from the beginning.
Right.
All this.
But, people hitting you up. You going to Winter Cheese Fest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, dude, there's this really cool cheese bar that opened up down the street. Dude, I just got gold, man. I went into the GACF and my cheese. I won best Munster. I also submitted a mimole. I haven't heard back. It's all right. I'm gonna take the judge's score sheet. I'm gonna take it home and reflect.
Oh
yeah,
man.
So it's funny. Yeah, it's every little thing like that. I used to think, and I used to tell myself, if I'm sitting at, some really cool corporate event or some beer event somewhere, and they have a whole bunch of high end cheeses. Right. I'm trying every one of those in addition to what I'm drinking and everything. I never factored that into my thought of this is why I'm this big. Just dropping that out, it's crazy how much everything just improves. Yeah. I mean, you can live off of beer, but also at the same time, you can be a craft beer drinker, but be extra mindful of the fact that you are packing on calories as a craft beer drinker.
Right.
It's funny because when I drink them, it's it isn't that I'm, looking at certain calorie levels or anything. It's just, when I'm drinking certain ones, the heaviest ones, I usually know after a few, I'm like, man, I've either got to switch up or I'm going to be done really fast tonight, you know? And, and you can kind of just tell, you know, it's similar to, you know, how like when you're drinking sometimes, you know, you can kind of feel your level of buzz going up, you know, and you're like, ooh, this is going to be a quick night if I don't slow down or whatever, you know, it's that kind of an idea.
And that's the whole thing too, is like, you want to try everything that's available. Like, you know, for the listeners, I don't know where, you know, everyone's listening from, but here in Toledo, you know, we've got some great craft beer bars. And one of the best ones that we have is a place called The Attic. And one of the nice things about The Attic is that she purposely, the person who runs it purposely orders in, you know, shorter 6 barrels and just keeps a solid rotation of stuff going there.
Yeah.
So you always see something new. There's something unique almost every single night that, you know, you haven't had in a long while. But when you march in there as a drinker, like if you're a craft beer drinker, if you haven't been out in a while, you haven't been to the bar in a while, you'll see this at a lot of craft beer bars where you go, oh, cool, I've heard about this, or wow, that sounds awesome. And, you know, there's a good chance you won't see that beer again on draft. So it's like you almost feel like you have to just keep going and like keep throwing these in.
Yeah.
But you're not drinking it for the sake of getting drunk, and you're not drinking it for, you know, the sake of like throwing it in and like, you know, just having fun with it. Like you really want to you're doing it for the flavor.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about carbs and calories.
I was just explaining that to somebody the other night when I was explaining one of the beers, because I was telling them about a beer that I really liked, and I was explaining kind of the flavors of the beer and why I like it. And they were like, oh, wow, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I was like, when we drink these, we're not just like shotgunning these things. You know.
See, I mean, I've been drinking this bourbon barrel Scotty Karate for like an hour now, just enjoying it.
Exactly. You know, it's like,
oh my God, I saw that. I saw a photo of that online and I went, oh man.
It's delicious.
Is it great?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
It's really great.
Scotty Karate has been a long time favorite of mine. As soon as I saw bourbon, I'm like, well, of course you're going to do that.
Of course, Dark Horse, of course.
Yeah. Like, why didn't it took this long for somebody to put that together?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's delicious. But like when my wife and I go out, generally what we do is we ask or we get the tap list, see what they have, then we pull out our phones and check Untapped, see what we haven't had and it's on the list, and we start ordering.
Yeah. Well,
unless there's some all-time favorite that I just have to have, you know.
Yeah.
That's one of those things too. Like I've been trying to get myself to go back into like Untapped, but like, you know, I don't use it that often. I mainly use it to search through to see if anyone has registered a beer name.
That makes sense.
That's a good use for it.
I could see that.
Yeah.
We're trying really hard to like sort of come up with brand new names that we can make completely ours. As we make beer. So like that's a big part of it is I know that if it exists, somebody's reviewed it on Untapped.
Yes.
So, but I'm kind of extra mindful of what I do because like I don't really review beers that much anymore, and I've realized like I'm not really into drinking these beers just for the sake of like, you know, making a review or documenting them as it is. I just enjoy the flavor period of a lot of this different stuff. And I always have to try stuff, even if it's beer that's terrible, I have to retry it. Like every year that comes out, if it's something I hate or something that I've just been disappointed with over and over, I'm guaranteed to try it again.
You know, it's funny you mention that because there's been beers we've tried and it's that sometimes our palates have changed. Like, you know, a couple years ago, we weren't really IPA drinkers as much. And we've grown into being IPA drinkers. Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. I had this conversation last night because there's another thing about doing this fast that's been rather interesting. Since doing it, now I've developed I've had a moment here where my taste buds have kind of flipped upside down and been reset now because I haven't been eating meat or, anything like that, like what my core diet would be, which is, the average American diet, like a lot of terrible pub food.
Cheese, lots of cheese, right?
Lots of cheese, lots of meat, and then like vegetables for garnish. And, because it looks nice to have a little like, kind of twisty piece of food art on the side.
Sure.
Yeah. A little splash of color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but it's like, I would eat vegetables and I love, all sorts of different types of food. And, I mostly just stuck with like, what was simple to make, which is always, burgers and stuff like that for home. But like, I never felt like a salad could fill me, or I could feel sustained or, like salad always felt like to me that was something that you had just to kind of have some light flavor sort of thing before you get into a meal, and that was the way of tricking vegetables into your diet,
Right.
But like, I literally, since having done this, I've developed now, I have this taste for, like so many different vegetables. Like I had a salad today. It felt great. I made my own salad at home and I was like, this is awesome, but it's never tasted this way to me because my diet has been completely focused on not salad, not vegetables.
Right.
And so whenever I would try it, like it was still new to, it was still like not what I would usually eat. So my body wouldn't recognize it. But the same went for beer when I slowly forced myself into beer being the thing that I instinctually crave, for food.
Right.
That's how that change happened. It took like 4 days or so. Now that I'm doing more vegetables and stuff, I'm into it. I like the flavor, and there's stuff that I've never liked the flavor of as vegetables that I love now.
That's interesting.
It is.
And to that credit, this goes into craft beer. And there's a thing that happens. This is a problem that, I think is not really realized all too often in the craft beer community, is that there's a lot of people who get into craft beer. Your jumping in point is usually something like Oberon or some sort of a fruit beer or like Blue Moon or something like that,
Right. It's a nice little inside joke. You just kind of didn't know you dropped. I'll tell you.
Oh, no. Yeah. Straight to the point though, that's how a lot of people intro into craft beer from like, just regular domestics. It's like there's something that's like sort of a soft, easygoing, like light kind of flavor that you get into. And then suddenly it's like, oh, cool. I like this. I want to try other things. And then you kind of branch up from there. But every time you do that, your taste buds change slowly because they adapt, just like with anything else you do in diet. They adapt to what you're, currently into and like the things you slowly start to try. So when you first got into it, you said yourself, like, IPAs weren't your guys' thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that's common for everybody. Like I remember the very first like Stone Arrogant Bastard I had. It was brand new to craft beer. And I tried that stuff and that was the most hellacious, crazy, strong, nutty flavor I ever had. And I remembered saying like, I'll never drink that stuff again. That's horrible.
Yeah.
What's funny now, I taste it and I don't hardly taste any hops behind it in my head. And like, we get to this point, we keep thinking like as craft beer drinkers that our taste buds are completely the same. And what we're able to detect and taste doesn't change. So you'll get something like Bell's Oberon, or you'll get like, just like Sam Adams or, Stone like that, like the Arrogant Bastard. You'll get something like that and you'll try it. And after years of trying it, it keeps tasting different and tastes less and less flavorful.
Yeah.
And we get, and then people who don't know start lighting these places up, or they start telling people in blogs, what they're tasting and what it means without knowing, like, they've got to be cutting back on their ingredients, or they're not putting as much of X in or Y in, or it's just it's a cheap product now,
Yeah.
People come up with their own theories and assumptions, but you never realize like, it's because now you're into like IPAs, you're into double IPAs and really strong stuff like that. You don't have the flavor, the same flavor in your taste buds anymore.
Right.
When you go back to these things. But it's not because they changed. It's your palate that's changed.
Yeah, that actually, it makes perfect sense because for a little while there I was drinking, Newcastle brown ale for a while and really liking it. And now that I've had a bunch of different brown ales, Tony and I were at a bar and I got a Newcastle and I'm like, I just don't have a taste for this anymore.
It's not the same, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I still like brown ales, but this just it's just not my jam anymore,
And that's the thing that we don't realize too, and it's so funny because we don't think about it. That's exactly how we got into craft beer to begin with, because we loved domestic beer, or what we drank at the time was acceptable, and then we found a new appreciation, and our taste shifted to something else.
Yeah,
and then whatever it is that we drank before, it just doesn't taste the same. We don't realize that happens in craft beer as well.
Yeah,
and it's funny because those are the guys who go on the really deep end of like big roasty beer or crazy amounts of hop oils in their beer.
Yeah.
Those are the people that then also go on Beer Advocate and shred some beer online in the ratings of a beer because they tasted it, and they don't realize that it's impossible for them to taste what's in that beer anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Light something up and it gets a bad rating or it gets bad press, and like people just go off of what other people say, So it's kind of funny. Like, that's a problem that we have in the industry, is that there's a lot of people who just destroy their taste buds on some of the crazy strong stuff. Like, if you went to Buffalo Wild Wings and not only did you survive the Blazing Wings challenge, but you put Blazing Wings sauce on everything.
Yeah, doing shots of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have a tough time being able to dial down your taste buds to try out like the new Asian Zing sauce or something like that,
Yeah.
Right.
Give an honest opinion of it.
Right. I had that issue a few weeks ago, was it a month ago? Whenever it was when we went out, I started the night with some really hoppy stuff. When we were in Chicago, I had like 2 or 3 really hoppy beers, and then I was like, man, I kind of felt like on the night that was like all I could taste. It was like I felt like I had kind of blown my palate on hops, and the rest of the night I was like, I can't even really taste whatever else I was drinking.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and it's funny, in much the same way as this fast, I've done it a few times with beer, where I've purposely made a point of saying, like, I got to a point where I was so into crazy hop stuff that I couldn't get into anything, like even regular entry points like double IPAs that were now starting to taste boring to me. It became hard to find something that had that same flavor.
Right.
So I made a point of specifically one day, and I'll do this every now and then, and I'll make a point of saying, all right, no more crazy IPAs or stouts for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to cut down on this and go back to like light, like sours and farmhouses and, saisons.
Right.
Because like I miss just being able to taste the wide range of stuff and just appreciate all these different beers for what they are. And it's funny, it works.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, like, you retrain yourself to go back to liking something else, or to go back to be able to appreciate little nuances, And so, like, once you got to the point of being kind of like, all right, I've done the all nothing but crazy IPA route for so long, I'm bored with it. You can reset yourself to go back to like just being able to appreciate other things. And it's funny, like, I don't think people like really take the time to do that, or like really get see the value in it if they're thinking about it at all,
Yeah.
Right.
But
yeah.
That's a good
there
point.
Are so many beers like, that do get a bad rap over time because they're lighter beers or something, but like, it's just because our tastes have changed, not the beer. It's still that great flavor that you got into, or it's a great place for somebody to start into craft beer, and
mm-hmm.
those are always the most valuable beers in my mind, just because I want more people into this,
Do you by chance recall what beer got you into craft beer?
Oh yeah, it's very specific. The reference for Oberon was right on the nose.
Okay.
Right on the nose there. Yeah, that was the very first one. The way it was described to me at the time was that I was living out in West Michigan, and someone brought that to a party, and the way they basically described it was, it sounds like some dude makes this in his garage, and he made a company out of it. Like, I didn't even know what craft beer exactly was at the time. This was a long time ago, but I remember trying it and going like, holy hell, like this is cool, because like it had in my mind just this giant explosion of like, you know, cool wheat flavors. Like the spices that were in it were amazing to me.
It's like Guy Fieri says, flavor country.
Yeah.
That's a Marlboro thing. That's not Guy Fieri.
Was it Flavor Town? I don't know. Whatever dope says.
That's like Marlboro did that. It was
I'm
Welcome to Flavor Country.
Flavor City.
Fieri is co-opting Marlboro.
Yeah.
I'd buy that. I bought that the instant you said it. Like, yeah. I wasn't sure, but I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a thing he'd say.
Yeah,
right?
Close enough. All right. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I mean, and it's kind of funny, like, you know, over time, like now it's the point I keep retrying Oberon, and even though if this somehow reaches Larry Bell, I'll humbly apologize for what I'm about to say.
All right, I'll write this down so we can forward it to him. No, I'm kidding.
Gotta be careful with him. He is watching. It's kind of weird. This is gonna be fun. Okay, so for the people who are doing this, let's see what happens. You can actually talk to him. You can on Beer Advocate. He's constantly watching what's going on Beer Advocate. And if you make a mention of of something, like you think something's wrong with a batch of beer, he sees it. I don't know what he does. Like if he's got some sort of a Google alert for like bad batch Bell's beer, but like he'll see it, and his username is literally Larry Bell.
Very sneaky.
Yeah.
No, he'll like. I remember this. Like this was like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. When I used Beer Advocate more regularly, there was one batch that I thought was weird, and I made a comment, and like he sent me a message like instantly.
Like, you son of a bitch.
Like, right off the bat, he goes like, "I'm sorry. What batch? What's the batch number that you have on there?" And I'm like, "Oh, the batch number." Back of the bottle, gave him the batch number, and then he goes, "Oh, we have had some reports on that batch," and he starts talking about it, and I'm like, "Why are you talking to me?" Like I was so flabbergasted that Larry Bell takes the time to personally respond to, like, you know, like we think this is a bad batch, but like, he would do it constantly, and then like you could ask him questions, he would answer. Like they make a mead up there that I've always loved, but it's only ever been on tap in the cafe.
Mm.
And I asked, like, one time, I was like, man, I just really want them to bottle this. This would be great. I'd love to have this mead. So, like, you know, one of the times that he made a mention of a bad batch, like, we were talking about it, I asked him, I was like, when are you're going to bottle that mead soon, right? And he's like, we're working on it. No promise beforehand. And I'm like, this is fascinating to me that you can just have this conversation with this dude who's in charge of this major brewery that's, I think they're finally in every state now. I think they're in all 50.
Are they? Yeah, I was going to say, I know they were close because I've heard of like various people through Instagram and different stuff. I've seen, you know, like blah, blah, and they post Oberon and so.
Yeah.
Aren't
they in the top 5 of the craft breweries in America?
I think so.
Probably. Well, now, especially with their UP brewery and I think I'd heard something about them setting up another operation somewhere, or something like they're about to do like a canning line or something, you know, in like Florida or whatever.
Nice.
But I have no doubts they've just become huge, and I've got nothing but the most amount of respect for them. And what I was originally going to say, so the Oberon, I keep trying it, and I just can't get back into it. it still feels so light, even with, me taking the time to reset and everything.
Yeah.
Every now and then for my taste buds. But I can't get that same feeling and that same flavor that I had. Unless I guess I have to stoop to just drinking Budweiser for a month or something. I have to try to
do it, man.
Would not recommend.
It's not that drastic, so I'm not going to get to that. I don't feel like I'm at that measure yet, but I think that's the only way I can do it. That must be the way, the combination that made it like so awesome to me to begin with. But but it is funny. I will still retry it.
Yeah, it's interesting, like every year, around this time when it comes back and people, you see, all over Instagram, people are like, oh yeah, and seeing the pictures. And it's, I've had it. It's not, like I'm kind of like you. It doesn't do a whole lot for me anymore, but it is always cool to see people, posting it, because at least I'm not like seeing pictures of like, people like, oh yeah, Bud Light Lime's back, or something. So,
yeah,
I got a mango Rita now. Yeah,
I'd much rather see this. So yeah,
right.
But and that's the thing too. Like, it's something I've always like. I think we struggle with is from the brewing side too. Is that we're obviously in the business of like we're trying to come up with a whole bunch of new recipes for stuff and try new products out now that we're a statewide bottling facility and we're growing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, now we're kind of looking at like, what are we going to do with like, we want to try to like be a little crazier and come up with some more out there kind of flavors to bottle, to set ourselves aside a little bit. But some of the trouble that we have is that when we're coming up with these flavors, it's really hard to go back because like we really want to dial back into what's the average craft beer drinker really drinking?
Yeah.
Because we're not that anymore. Like, we're not the average craft beer drinker, and we're certainly not the beginning craft beer drinker, which is the biggest part of our segment, as far as like our end of beer sales. It's mostly guys who are brand new to it that are growing this brand or growing the type of beer,
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's kind of funny, like we get to a point where like we're so into craft beer that we can't even make something that is broadly relating to craft beer, like just off the top of our heads. We have to really think about like we have to scale back a little bit, make something that's not as aggressive, and it takes a lot of trips, across the street to go find people that may not be quite into craft beer, or they're people who are new to it to try to see what they think,
Yeah. Yeah, because the last time we were we were at Mutt's, and while we were sitting at the bar, a guy taps me on the shoulder and was like, hey, he's like, have you, do you drink here regularly? I'm like, I've been here plenty of times. And he was like, well, what are you drinking? He's like, I've never been here before. He's like, I live down the street. I've lived here for years, but I've never come in here to drink.
Yeah.
And I was drinking the Dreamin' Demon at that point, and I'm like, well, you probably don't want to start here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's such a huge flavor for people to jump into that demon.
Yeah.
Like,
so I asked him, what we always ask, which is, well, what do you like to drink? Because that's usually where we would, you start. And I pointed him. He said he liked like red type beers, so I pointed him toward I forgot was it just the Irish red? I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. And he got that, and he was like, "This is really good." He's like, "This is so much better than what I'm used to." And I'm like, "There you go," So
he's hooked.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's and at the same time, like, I have some arguments every now and then, like, not real arguments, but for the sake of arguments. But like, amber is always one of those things that's never somebody's number one selling beer that they make.
Yeah.
Like red ales, as far as craft beer goes, they're always like, they're somewhere fourth, fifth, never going to be a major mover for you.
Yeah. I can see that because I settle on amber beer so many times. Like, I'll go somewhere and I won't see something that I really want, and I'll be like, oh, they have an amber or an Irish, I'll be like, I'll have that.
That's the other thing too, though. That's always the argument I make, though, is that like at the same time, That's always a default entry point for craft beer.
Yeah.
When somebody's just sitting there and going, I don't know, and I've tried an IPA and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But ambers, I've had Killians and I've had amber.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
And so, well, it's never your number one seller. At the same time, there's always going to be people who buy it, and you're going to have steady sales off of it. And it's always like a big argument. My boss, of course, hate me if there's diehard Maumee Bay fans listening to this. Because like I'm adding fuel to the fire, but like we get into a problem where we only have so many bottles and cases that it costs a lot of money to print and put something in bottles.
Sure.
Right.
And you have to register it with the FCC or not FCC. Sorry, we have to register it with the TTB. So many 3-letter initial things for our government, and they're all about the same. People who want taxes.
Yeah, let's just say tax collectors.
Sure,
tax collectors. There you go. But it takes so much of an effort. And one of the things that people have always been wanting us to like make again, or start to put out there. We always hear about Fallen Timbers Red.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that's the big thing that everyone misses. And I put in the good fight. It's hard for us to juggle and put that in there, and we have so many other things that are selling well.
Yeah.
So it's like,
right.
We're not sure, and we've brought it back before, and it didn't quite take, a few years ago. But I'm like, I still think we should have one, and I think it'd be great to bring that back. But yeah, it's funny to me though, because like there's that stuff that a lot of people don't think about. Like Stone, certainly, like they've recently been starting to come up with some more lighter fare kind of things or stuff that's like somewhere in between all the hops. But I mean, for a long while, they were just trying to see how much they could just crank into it. What's the highest IBUs that we can put on people, And
yeah, that's what.
It out and still have it flavorful.
I see that a lot of times, and it was interesting because we talked on one of these episodes before with Shannon from the Black Cloister.
Yeah.
And she, because we'd asked her about, different stuff, and, she was kind of like, that stuff's not really important to most of us, like when we are drinking and stuff, we don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
And it's so true, but it's like, I see so many people, like I in a group I'm in, of another podcast, they were talking about stuff, and sometimes people, that's like what they lead with, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not okay. But how's it taste? Why do you like it? What is it's like,
right.
Yeah.
Again, it's like no. See, you're still leading with one of the reasons that craft beer drinkers typically start. Like you said earlier, we aren't generally drinking to get drunk. And part of it's because if you start looking for the craft beers that are going to get you drunk the quickest, they're expensive.
Yep.
So if you really just want to get drunk, you can, you can buy cheaper craft beers and still get drunk,
Yeah. Absolutely.
You don't need to find 10.75s or whatever to,
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, it's prohibitive to those people. Like, I mean, if you're looking to get blitz, like you wouldn't even deal with craft beer. You'd go straight to liquor.
Right.
That's what I tell people too. I'm like, if you're going to do that, just go buy a bottle of booze instead. It's cheaper.
Yeah. No, and I mean, like, you can make it taste whatever way you want. Go nuts.
Yep.
Like craft beer, it's definitely all about the flavor. And yes, of course, having alcohol in it there's a reason for it. It has to be there. That's a part of it because that's a part of the flavor.
Yeah.
Right.
And it wouldn't taste the same without it. It's an argument commonly made in wine too. So there's a lot of people are like, well, why does wine have to be alcoholic? I'm like, well, there is something to the actual flavor of it. And if you ever have a alcohol removed wine, you'll quickly figure out why. It's been everything's been done right. It's been fermented and etc. But yeah, there is something missing in the flavor once you pull it out. And I mean, it's a key part of it, but it's not there for getting blitzed, you know?
Right.
Those are the beers that you slow down and sip. It's almost like it purposely is there to make you pump the brakes.
Yeah.
And slowly take in a flavor, you know?
I tried to explain that to somebody once a long time ago, that some of these beers and stuff, I was like, you enjoy them kind of like you enjoy liquor, you know, that you don't generally...
You don't just chug it.
Yeah, like you get a glass of scotch, you don't just boom and clang, you know, like give me another one, you know, that's not generally how it's enjoyed.
Bad day.
Yeah, right.
It's something that really, really bugs me. The fact that there's people that don't get that, and not even just people that are young, like like really young bartenders, but there are bartenders out there that don't understand that when you're asking for a glass of whiskey, you're not asking for a shot.
Yeah, I hear you.
Slam it.
Yeah.
Like, it feels kind of like the movie Idiocracy in a way. And when the character's trying to explain, like, you shouldn't put Gatorade on crops. I'm pretty sure that's killing the crops. You should put water on it. And they're like, water? You mean like from the toilet? That's kind of how it feels. Like, when every time, like, I just want a glass of Jameson. I don't want it chilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? You don't want it chilled? No chill. Room temperature, please.
So do you want room temperature Coca-Cola in there? No.
No, I don't. All right, you want it on the side as a chaser? No chaser. No, none.
I just want a glass, not a shot glass. A glass.
I don't know how to charge that. Like, okay, put 2 shots worth in there. Charge me what that would be.
Right.
Yeah. And walk away.
Exactly.
Like, you don't want an ice cube? No, I don't want a damn ice cube.
No.
And even still, when it's an Irish bar that you're at,
well, I was trying to do this at a wedding. I'm like, I just want Jamesons, and they're like, well, we don't do shots. I'm like, I'm going to sip on it. I don't need a shot.
Yeah.
And then the one bartender got it, and he's like, legally, I have to give you at least 1 ice cube.
Yeah.
So I had my Jamesons with 1 ice cube in it that I fished out as soon as I walked away.
That's the whole thing. Yeah, I'm like, I play this game with the open bars, and like, I always love it because they're even more flummoxed. And I always love the little getaway of like, I have to give you an ice cube. I'm like, okay, well then I will take 1 shot with ice. Thank you. I walk away. And I send somebody else up to go get another one. And then we come back with an empty cup, and I just strain that, much like a actual bartender straining a drink.
Yes.
I just strain out all the ice, and I'm like, I'm just going to hold on to this for a while it warms up in my hand.
Yep.
Look at that. I MacGyvered a good drink. Go away.
Magic.
I know. It is maddening though. Like, I hate the fact that if you go into, and it's especially like if you go into a bar where the crowd is younger and you ask for a glass of whiskey, you get a shot of whiskey. And it's like, I didn't ask for a shot of whiskey. Yeah. I'm not chasing something. I'm not standing here with all my girlfriends and we're not going, woo! So why am I getting a shot of whiskey? You know?
And it's funny because like you'll get this at craft beer bars too. Like some of them get it. Some of them are with it, but like to have that amount of dedication to be, okay, well, clearly we have this whole thing we have to carry that people are into it for the flavor and they're not doing it to party and go crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
That you're going to have a glass of scotch, or you're going to even like vodkas, like people don't get like I don't want Pinnacle, whatever Pinnacle it is. It doesn't matter what Pinnacle it is.
Whipped cream vodka, sure. Yeah.
You name it, if Pinnacle's on it, I ain't touching it. Apparently I get really snitty about liquor, but I'm not. I'm an ambassador when it comes to craft beer, but I will totally throw brands brands under the bus for liquor.
Right, I understand. Sure,
there's nothing wrong with that.
It's all right. Steve Pinnacle's a close friend of ours, so we'll make sure he gets your complaint. Yeah,
he'll post on Vodka Advocate.
You never know, and people send stuff to be like, oh, they ragged on your thing, and then it's funny how that stuff goes. Where like you just type one weird random thing up in a blog post or review, and it gets sent all over. Like, so
I guess Tony and I. Yeah, I was say I guess Tony and I won't be stumping for Pinnacle Vodka anytime soon.
No.
I mean, if they had to pick candidates, clearly you guys would be top of the list.
Yeah.
And not, someone straight out of college that just happens to have the right look.
Yeah. They're changing their brand image. They want two guys in their mid to late 30s with beards.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
If I ever had a hankering for gummy worm vodka, I mean,
I've had it. No, it was Swedish Fish vodka that I had that one time. Oh,
it's all terrible.
I can't understand it. It doesn't click to me. Like, why is this such a thing? And like people go ape for it. And
I know.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm just like, man, at that angle, like, why don't you just go ahead and make a powder that you can pour into every one of these things, or some sort of like a little mixer that you can make that flavor into the vodka and sell that? Like, why doesn't somebody come along that's come up with a flavor shot to add to vodka to make the Pinnacle whipped cream or something like that? Because it's not going into distillation. It's something they distill and they add it to this flavor.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny to me because these companies, again, going back to the fact that we're not that very advanced, we're monkeys that recently learned to talk. I think it's the thing that we said earlier today. Yeah. Like as a civilization, as a culture, it's kind of funny. There's so many obvious things that we don't think about. And one of the things that just always gets me about the liquor industry with all these flavored vodkas is that anytime you put flavoring into a spirit, you have to submit a formula to the government telling them everything you've put in there for a flavor and how you've made it. Like, because they want to make sure that you're not just dumping antifreeze into a vodka and like calling it good.
Tony, our new vodka's right out apparently.
I know, right?
Our new cool vodka or cooling vodka.
That's how they do this stuff. And it takes a lot of time and money to get something cleared, and they have to use certain ingredients, and there's certain rules for what they make. But if you could just take and make a bottle of flavoring that you don't put any alcohol into, but you specifically tell people and tell bars how they can do this, because it's just cheap vodka. There's nothing great about any of these, like the Smirnoff or, Pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just neutral vodka. They've poured high proof vodka through a Brita water filter, and then they added the flavoring.
Perfect.
Right.
You could make so much money off of just, here you go, bar. This is your flavoring, and you just mix all your stuff with your well vodka, and you don't have to pay Pinnacle, $20 a shot for every single, bottle that you buy or what have you,
Yeah.
Like,
that's true. And seriously, coming up with that flavoring could not cost much money at all.
No, it is not at all. I mean, it is the most cost effective because they sell those bottles, as far as a wholesale cost, it's real cheap,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, plus, like one of these candy companies could probably market just the powdering that could be added to, a liquid of some sort to make this for probably nothing almost.
It's like a adult variation of Fun Dip.
Yeah, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
amazing.
And then from there, like,
adult
that's
Fun
something
Dip.
like that's a whole market you could open up for these people that go to the bars and go to hang out, where like they could just Well, then that opens up another thing. And hold on, I'm going to throw that idea away because I just realized I just found a way for college 20-something-year-olds to like legitimize like flasks or something. Like I was about to say like, yeah, then people could just buy them and add them themselves. And I thought like, oh, that'd be great.
Yep.
Like, a whole bunch of people at the bar like, yeah, no, it's just flavoring for my vodka. I'm just adding.
Yeah, just give me a shot of gummy worm.
Yeah. Give me a shot of vodka. I'm adding gummy worm in here. That's all that's in the bottle. It's not higher proof.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Trust me.
I swear it's not.
I like to add it to my Coca-Cola too.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh.
Now it's gummy flavored Coca-Cola.
I need a Red Bull.
Vodka inside the same bottle.
Oh God. I need a Red Bull with gummy worm and and insulin.
Yeah, no shit. Probably 911.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and dial 911 when I do the shot, then hit 1.
Yeah. Because my heart will stop.
Here's my EpiPen.
Yeah, done. Could I get a Pinnacle EpiPen actually? They come with them. It's like the new worm in the tequila bottle. It's a EpiPen at the bottom of it and slides out. If you've had five shots of it, you can probably reach the EpiPen.
Yeah.
It's super convenient.
Terrible idea.
Oh, well, you know, however you make $1.
This seems totally plausible, though, and something totally American. Yeah. Like taking something and going to another level with it that just, you know, contributes to our own demise. This really...
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, you know. But think of all the fun that you'd be having and all the fun you'd not be having if you didn't.
Finally, I can have my gummy worm whiskey. Finally.
It's about damn time.
You know, I've often wondered just what it would be like if you put a Starburst inside of a toasted oak barrel and you left it alone for 2 years. Let's have Starburst bourbon. Let's do that.
Oh my God.
Lucky Charms.
It's almost crazy enough to work.
Lucky Charms soju. Let's just go wild.
Oh man. That's what's coming next, right? Like when does like tequila or whiskey or something start getting these treatments? Is vodka the only one that's going to get it?
Vodka is probably the only one that'll ever.
Oh, thank God. I hope so.
Yeah, so neutral.
It would never be tequila, and there'd be an uproar if it ever did happen because there are so many restrictions to what they can do to how they make tequila.
Oh, right.
That, I mean, literally, like, first of all, you have the fight with the Mexican government because they actually have copyright over the name tequila.
Oh, okay.
And they will sue anybody who even takes it and uses it improperly.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good then.
Yeah, like they're very fierce because that's a big part of their business in exporting goods is that like you have to make a tequila in Mexico and it has to be this blue agave.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm happy about it for this reason then because
you can make something that's called like a blue agave or a spirit distilled from blue agave and make it basically be tequila, but you can't use the word tequila. And again, people are rather straight, simple-minded folks, and if it doesn't say tequila, they don't believe that it is tequila.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, that's a big part of it. But like, yeah, stuff like Scotch, Irish whiskey, bourbon for us.
Right. Yep.
You can make a whiskey that's like all sorts of different crazy flavors, but you can't call it bourbon. You know.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. Like, yeah, there are some regional plants, but there's never anything on vodka and rum. I don't think there's any regional claims to like a special type of rum. So those are always the ones that are going to have crazy flavors.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think to some degree, I think brandy as well, but there's certain types of brandy like cognac, you know, has to be in France and all that stuff. But yeah, it's fascinating a world that the liquor laws have, where basically they are all designed to keep everybody who's already been or already made their millions from not losing any money.
Oh,
so,
sure. Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. It's like, no, it's next to impossible to be a craft distiller and wind up making a profit. Like as far as the way that they've set it up, like it's very hard to be making something very profitable, in craft distilling, because you basically are already at a disadvantage because the laws seem set up purposely to kind of keep everybody who's like, Jim Beam or Jack Daniels keeping all the cards and playing, playing basically by their own rules,
Yeah.
Right.
So it's sort of funny, like a lot of that stuff, like, no one cares about vodka or rum, so go nuts, it's wild. But we put this framework in place that you can't call it this product unless you follow the same rules that we've already been doing for 100 years. For no reason other than we had the money to get the lobbyists to put this stuff in place.
Naturally.
Right.
But,
you guys have been distilling down there in Maumee Bay now, right?
We're about
early
to.
Starting to, right? Yeah.
We're going to be starting to. I'm the guy who's trying to navigate that, if you haven't figured that out already by the conversation.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's we're at the point we have our permit is in process, and we're waiting to get the final okay, which we've been told is coming soon. But from then we move on to the next step of the process, which is submitting formulas, which will be like another 2 or 3 months, and then we submit them labels, which will be another 2 to 3 months. So we've got a little time before
you're got some time to go.
Right.
Yeah. You get time before you see like a finished product on the shelves, but we're plugging along as fast as we can, through all the official channels.
Cool.
Right.
Very cool. You'll have your own flavored vodkas out soon. Awesome.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. No, I mean, it's kind of funny because there's a place for it, and I don't ever mean to get harsh on somebody's, fun and whatever they feel like is, fun for them for flavor. I don't want no one picking on me for, loving that there's an IPA out there with like guava in it and just being, nutty about like something like that. So at the same time, I have like a little bit of a moral argument about it, but I do think it's just a little bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta ask, if you were forced to make a flavored vodka, what would you make?
I would march into our bar and find out which flavored vodkas we go through the most, and the top 5 would be the ones I would make.
That's the best answer right there.
Okay. What do we make the most amount of money on?
All right.
Watermelon, huh? Okay.
Okay, now let me change the question slightly. If you had to make a flavored vodka based on your personal taste, what would it be?
A flavored vodka passion
for
project.
you. Yeah, for you. Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. That's such a good one. If I had to, all right. So if there's a,
it's like I want an IPA flavored one.
That would be like, like if I had to crank a flavor into a vodka, like there's something I can't do without having booze wrapped up in it.
Yes, like bourbon vodka.
What was that, bourbon vodka?
Yeah.
Man,
booze on booze.
I'm even thinking, like, that just takes away.
I know.
Bourbon vodka is perfect. This is so horrible. I can't even think of like what's my throwaway. I'm so choosy about flavors.
Right, and you can't have a cheese vodka because that would just be weird.
It would be very weird.
I would say, I mean, if I'm going to go with something like, I probably would go with like a really sharp, like if I could make a zesty citrus vodka, I think Seagram's made one for a while, and I haven't seen it in a while, but I just really like I want something that's going to have a little bit of like a zest to it, you know, and not just a flavored, like fake flavored thing, you know?
Right.
Right.
That's probably what I'd wind up having to go with. Like, I want to see something that's got a little tart, a little sourness to it, you know, and like a little bit more of a bite than just, you know, hey, look, we just put in a whole bunch of like somewhat orange flavored artificial flavoring, you know.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Sunny D to vodka.
Yeah, I'm like, that's cool. I don't need to make a booze orange Julius. Like
Wait a minute.
Hold on now.
Where's my adult Jamba Juice?
Yes. You might have just stumbled on the next step for soccer moms.
It's going to be what is it like? So like a smoothie joint, except it's going to be with booze. I'm going to make a bunch of boozies.
Yes.
I'm going to set up at a mall food court.
Perfect.
I'm not sure how you get around the liquor laws, but
yeah. I got a little booze smoothie beer garden of sorts.
Right.
Smoothie garden.
Yeah. No drinks beyond this point sign, you know. But this fence is really short, you know.
Oh yeah. That's a good one. I had like a weird complex. Like, I have to get an answer. What could it be? Like, even then it was kind of a comp out. Like, I can't give you a flavor.
Nah, you know what though? I think that's a good answer because I have had like the orange flavored vodka and it's just good. Like syrupy.
Yeah.
It's not like a real orange zest or something flavor. I can buy into what you're saying. Yeah.
If you sold that to me, like literally, like if you just explained like it's a flavored vodka and like I had no prior experience to it, I would think, oh, that's cool. I'd like to see like, you know, what, you know, the juice of an apple or something like that. Or like, you know, if you get somehow the natural flavors of these fruits and somehow inject them into a vodka, you know?
Yes.
Or in my head, like if you had something that wasn't quite a neutral spirit, like it was something that was made off of orange juice that was fermented, you know, and then just distilled enough that it's a higher proof and it's a cleaner taste, but there's still some of the original base in there. Like that's sort of the thing I would picture.
Yeah.
Not we poured in sugar and a whole bunch of artificial, like kind of
all
like
these test tubes.
Yeah. See,
that's flavor country.
Yeah, exactly.
Orange, bam, right there. Guy Fieri and stuff. Hot dog diners and, you know, roadside dives and this stuff. And there you go.
Terrible.
Frosted tips and frosted glasses with frosted flavored vodka.
Oh my God! You just wrote his next book.
Yeah.
Pinnacle Frosted.
Oh, you seriously may have just written his next book.
You know, these ideas just come to me.
Man, should be his ghostwriter.
The difference is, I giggle about it. He makes $1 million.
Yeah, there's that.
Oh, that'd be stupid. And then they actually do it.
Yeah.
And then, well,
so true.
I stand corrected. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. You say it to your friends in jest, and then the next thing you know, it's on, you know, store shelves, and you're like, oh,
son of a.
I knew I should
have wore flame shirts.
I hate it when my snide sense of humor actually creates a multi-million-dollar product that I didn't come up with.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm making fun of this stupid idea, and then somebody else has the same idea and goes, "That's great," and it turns out it is.
Yeah. Like in a couple of months when you see the additive gummy worm and whipped cream stuff at the bar, you know.
I just gave somebody a great plan.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. It's not us because we're really lazy. So, you know, safe with
somebody
us.
Who listens to it and goes, hey.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Some go-getter out there will be like, you know what? Yeah.
Pinnacle actually just spends the time Googling their name constantly.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. some Google voice recognition thing will put it in there, and they'll find out, and it's all over. It's all over.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Well, we're about at an hour here, so that's usually where we wrap it up. Is there? Do you want people to like check out your blog? To
yeah, if they want. It's literally it's thebeerfast.tumblr.com.
Okay.
And yeah, you can go on there. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Steve Wherry. But you can see some of the stuff I posted on the Instagram as well.
Okay.
Right.
There's got to be some extra content on the other things. I can't just post it all on the blog. I've got to have some Easter eggs, like a Blu-ray or something.
Right.
Yeah. You got to sprinkle.
Sure.
Right. Sure. Got to create some curiosity. Go to the other forms of social media. Make myself into a media baron.
Yes. A media baron. Nice.
First the media, then the bourbon vodka.
Right.
Then the world.
Man,
hey,
that's the idea I'm stealing.
Damn it. Well, I'm just gonna go wreck my kitchen now, I guess, because bourbon vodka's right out.
So is it safe to say craft beer diet food?
Lifestyle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, consult your doctors.
That's a good, that's practice.
I'm not a physician. I am in no way a person who is a person of advice or that could make advice or advisory person in any healthcare decisions. But yeah, you can live off of it, and it's doing something like this, doing a fast. I actually, even though everyone will scream and yell and say it's completely not healthy or it's not good for you overall, as far as you're depriving yourself of nutrients, but to do these things, I think it is really good to take a perspective if you can and do a mini fast or do something like, it doesn't have to be beer, it doesn't have to be something that crazy or over the top, but do just vegetarian stuff for a while. Force yourself through the beginning days. If you're going to do a diet, do it. Actually do it. Stick to it. Don't beat yourself up for taking a day off, but don't just give up and go right back into it because it was tough. Because it's kind of funny, you get past those first few days, you wind up learning a lot and taking a lot of things and getting a new perspective on everything that you do.
Right.
And I wish you could get more people to just do it just simply for that, because it's been too cool to see just how much stuff you learn about our society and how we treat food and the things that you do in your own life, and take a new perspective and appreciation for those.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I gotta, just before we end this, I just had to tell you this real quick. I was telling my brother-in-law earlier today that we're going to interview you because you're doing a 42-day beer fast. And he was outraged. He's like, how could he not drink beer for 42 days? I'm like, no, Josh, he's only drinking beer. He's like, oh, okay.
That's my favorite thing about it too. I get that all the time where somebody's like, oh yeah, we just quit drinking. I'm like, no.
That's all I'm doing.
That's it.
Yeah, man. No, it's been too fun, and yeah, it's kind of like a weird life-changing experience, and I'm really glad I did it.
Is this something you might do again, like maybe once a year or something, or?
I've rolled the notion around.
You might be able to start some sort of religion even or something.
Slow down.
Well, if there's one money-making thing,
right?
I think I could become a mega pastor for a beer religion.
That would be the best craft beer bar ever.
Yes.
Tax write-off for every bit of my booze. I get to get a jet.
Yep.
I have people donate to my drinking tab.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, you see how many taps the Church of Steve has?
The Church of Steve. It already has a very great, attractive name to it that anyone can get into. The Church of Steve. That would be the religion that some guy who just decides that he wants to legitimize his drinking, that would be the name that he just picks. Like you crap out on the name. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think by rule you have to crap out on the name.
I
like,
agree.
It can't be something luxurious. Like people would have to know going into it. Like it's the Church of Steve. There's none of this is real.
Yeah.
We're just doing this to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
We actually just hang out and smoke cigars and drink beer and play cards.
Yeah.
Like, oh, perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then Steve comes over and bores us with a whole bunch of like daily talks about, it's crazy about what we do with food. And then eventually leaves and we keep drinking.
Sounds like a great church.
It does, yeah.
The church or just a weird, I think it's actually just a commune. I think I'm planning now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can live with me. I'm going to be a millionaire off of my bourbon vodka, and
damn it,
I'm going to have like this giant, cool little hippie commune. The deal is, though, you just have to hear me come around every now and then and rant about how weird food is.
That seems fair. I mean,
but you very quickly communes turn to cults, though. I'm just saying,
it's true. Yeah.
Well, I start small,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Pretty soon I dethrone Pinnacle Vodka. It's all this one big plan.
The Church of Steve bourbon vodka.
I have an e-meter for telling you how much flavored vodka is destroying your life.
Except for
now you can't use this episode because you're gonna get sued because I said e-meter.
Damn, you're probably no.
That's right. We got the Church of Steve back.
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah,
we're good.
We have powerful sponsors, so we're all set.
Beautiful.
All
right.
right.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a blast.